I am 98 years old, and I have a confession that's going to make you uncomfortable. I'm sitting in my kitchen right now. Same kitchen I've sat in for over 60 years. The light comes in different now, thinner, like even the sun got tired of this room. There's a cookie tin on the table in front of me, old metal thing. Faded flowers on the lid, pink and yellow, though you can barely tell anymore because the color's been worn down by decades of hands reaching for it. My hands, my children's hands, my grandchildren's hands. The lid is dented in 3 places. I remember every single dent. I remember what was inside when each one happened. Right now, nothing's inside. The tin has been empty for years. But I just opened it a moment ago, and I swear to you, I could still smell it. Butter, vanilla, a faint ghost of brown sugar that won't let go, no matter how many times I've washed this thing out. That smell used to mean love in my house. It used to mean, Mama's here. Everything is going to be fine. Now it just means I was wrong. Sugar destroyed more lives in my family than alcohol ever could, and I'm the one who served it. Nobody warned me, or maybe they did, and I didn't listen, because I was too busy being proud. Too busy being the mother everyone on the block wanted to be. You should have seen me back then. Flour on my apron, butter softening on the counter by 7 in the morning, and this tin, this exact tin, sitting open and waiting to be filled like it was the most important job in the world. And to me, it was. Somebody scraped their knee. Cookies. Report card came home with good marks. A whole batch of brownies, still warm, the edges crispy the way my kids liked them. Somebody got their heart broken for the first time. I'd have a pie cooling on the windowsill before the tears were dry. That was my answer to everything. Sweetness. I poured love into that tin like it was a bottomless thing. And I believed with every bone in my body that I was doing right by my family. The neighbors used to say, "Margaret, your children are the happiest on this street." And Lord, I wore that like a crown. I fed off it. Every time someone complimented my banana bread or asked for my snickerdoodle recipe, I stood a little taller. I thought happiness and fullness were the same thing. I thought if my children's mouths were full, their hearts were full. And if their hearts were full, then I was a good mother. That was the lie. That was the lie I told myself for 40 years. If they're eating, they're happy. If they're happy, I'm a good mother. I didn't know I was building a trap. I didn't know I was teaching my children that every pain in life has a sweet fix, that you don't sit with sadness, you don't endure discomfort, you eat your way past it, you reach for the tin. Now I sit in this same kitchen, and the counter is lined with pill bottles instead of mixing bowls, 7 of them. Orange plastic, white caps. My name printed on labels I can barely read anymore. There's an insulin pen sitting right next to a teacup that went cold 2 hours ago because I forgot about it. That's my kitchen now. That's what Sweetness built. But my kitchen isn't the tragedy. I'm 98. My body was going to break down regardless. The tragedy is what I did to the people I love the most. Let me tell you about Easter Sunday 2004. Raymond was my youngest, 51 years old that spring, though I still saw him as the boy who used to lick cake batter off the wooden spoon when I wasn't looking. He had his father's broad shoulders and his father's stubbornness too. Type 2 diabetes. Diagnosed at 43. Doctor told him to change his diet. Doctor told him to cut the sugar. Raymond smiled and said he would, and then he came to my house every Sunday and ate 2 slices of whatever I'd baked, because that's what we did. That's what I'd trained him to do. I never once told him to stop. Not once. Because if Raymond stopped eating my food, what did that make me? What purpose did I have if I wasn't feeding my children? So there we were, Easter Sunday, the whole family around my dining table. And that table was beautiful. I'd spent 2 days preparing. Pecan pie with the lattice crust I was famous for. Lemon bars dusted with powdered sugar so thick it looked like snow. A coconut cake I'd made from scratch. And right in the center of it all, this tin, filled with butter cookies pressed into flower shapes. Because it was spring, and I wanted everything to feel like spring. The dining room smelled the way heaven probably smells, if heaven was wrong about what matters. Butter and cinnamon and warm pastry dough. The children were laughing. Someone had told a joke. I don't remember the joke. Isn't that something? I don't remember what made everyone laugh. But I remember exactly what happened next. Raymond pushed his chair back. The legs scraped against the floor, and it made that sound. You know that sharp wooden cry a chair makes against tile. And then his plate slid off the edge of the table and shattered. White ceramic pieces everywhere. Pecan pie smeared across the floor, and Raymond just went down. Not dramatic like in the movies, quiet, almost gentle, like someone had simply turned him off. The children started screaming. My daughter Linda grabbed the phone. Someone was yelling to call 911, and I just stood there. I stood at the head of that table with powdered sugar still on my fingers, and I looked at my son on the floor, and then I looked at that table covered in my desserts, and something cracked inside me that has never healed. The ambulance came. The paramedics were loud and efficient, and they used words I didn't understand. They put him on a stretcher and wheeled him out my front door, and I followed in Linda's car, still wearing my apron. I didn't think to take it off. I sat in the emergency room waiting area in my Easter apron, with flour in the creases of my knuckles. and the fluorescent lights above me buzzed like flies that wouldn't leave. A doctor came out eventually. His mouth moved, and I saw the words before I heard them, like there was a delay between the world and my brain. Cardiac arrest, complications from unmanaged diabetes. They stabilized him. He was alive. Raymond survived that Easter, but within 2 years he lost his right foot. Circulation damage, diabetic neuropathy. I visited him in the hospital the day after the amputation, and the room was so quiet I could hear the IV drip marking time like a metronome. Drip, drip, drip. The room smelled like antiseptic and rubber gloves, and something metallic underneath it all. Not a trace of butter, not a trace of vanilla, just the clean, cold scent of consequence. I sat in a plastic chair beside his bed, and he was sleeping, and I looked at the space under the blanket where his foot should have been, and I finally connected it. My kitchen to his hospital room. My cookie tin to his IV pole. My love to his loss. I had baked my son into a hospital bed. I had sweetened him into an amputation. And the worst part, the very worst part, is that I knew, somewhere deep and quiet, I had known for years. I just never let that thought finish itself, because if I did, I'd have to stop baking. And if I stopped baking, who was I? Raymond walks with a prosthetic now. He's 71. He doesn't talk about it much. He doesn't blame me. That's worse. I wish he'd blame me. I wish he'd say, "Mama, you did this." But he just comes over on Sundays, and he sits at this table, and he drinks black coffee, and neither of us mentions the tin sitting on the shelf behind him. But here's the thing that keeps me up at night. The thing that tells me my sin is still breathing, still spreading, even now. Last Thanksgiving I visited Linda's house, my daughter, 73 years old, diabetic herself now, just like her brother, just like me. I was sitting in her kitchen waiting for her to bring me tea, and I opened her drawer, the one by the stove, the junk drawer, looking for a spoon. And there they were, 4 chocolate bars, hidden under a dish towel, tucked away in the exact same drawer where I used to hide butterscotch candies in this very kitchen 50 years ago. The exact same spot. I asked her about them later, tried to keep my voice light, and Linda laughed and said, "Oh, those are just my comfort stash, Mama. Everybody's got one." Comfort. She called it comfort. And she didn't even hear herself. She didn't hear my voice coming out of her mouth, my recipe for coping repeated perfectly, passed down like an heirloom nobody asked for. Linda's grandchildren are overweight. The oldest one is 14 and already pre-diabetic. After every family argument, he goes straight to the pantry, straight to the sweet stuff. I've watched him do it, and I've watched Linda watch him do it and say nothing, because to her it looks normal. It looks like love, because I made it look like love. This tin sits on my shelf, and I can't throw it away. I've tried. I've held it over the trash can more times than I can count. But it's the only thing left from my mother's kitchen, and my mother gave it to me when I got married, and she told me, "Fill this for your family, Margaret. Keep it full." So I kept it full, and it emptied out everyone I love instead. The flowers on the lid used to be so bright, cheerful. Now they look like the flowers you see on a casket spray, faded and final. I run my fingers along the dents, and each one is a birthday, a holiday, a broken heart I tried to mend with butter and sugar. Each one is a moment I should have said, "Come sit with me, tell me what hurts." Instead I said, "Here, have a cookie." The house is quiet now. It's quiet most days. I eat plain oatmeal for breakfast. No sugar, no honey, just oats and water and the taste of being too late. I sit at this table, and the tin sits across from me like a guest that won't leave, and some mornings I swear I can hear it laughing at me, at what I built, at what I destroyed. Now I'm going to talk to you. Yes, you, the one watching this right now. You're baking for your kids tonight, aren't you? Or maybe you already did. Maybe there's a plate of cookies on your counter, and you're telling yourself it's just a treat, it's just something sweet, it's no big deal. It is a big deal. I am living proof that it's a big deal. Stop telling yourself that sugar is love. Stop handing your children a cupcake every time they cry. You are not comforting them. You are programming them. You are writing instructions in their brain that say, when life hurts, eat something sweet. And life is going to hurt a lot. So they are going to eat a lot. And 20 years from now, 40 years from now, they are going to be sitting in a doctor's office, hearing words like insulin resistance and neuropathy and amputation, and they won't even know it started with you, with your kitchen, with your love. I know that's hard to hear. I know you think I'm being cruel, but I'm 98 years old, and I have watched sugar bury itself in my family's bloodstream for 3 generations. I have earned the right to be cruel about this. You want to love your family? Put the tin down. Close the recipe book. Go sit with your child and ask them what's wrong. And when they tell you, don't fix it with frosting. Fix it with listening. Fix it with presence. Fix it with the kind of love that doesn't come in a wrapper or a tin or a second helping. Love should nourish, not medicate. I'm 98 years old. I've got this tin, and I've got this truth, and I don't have enough time left to say it gently. Love isn't always sweet, and the sweetest things I ever made cause the most damage. Put the tin down.